No! Yo, it was dude. We spectated this guy once. He's fucking insane. GG's, man. G freaking G's, dude. He always uses the ballistic knife and the crossbow. Ah, GG's, man. Holy fuck, that was crazy.
Alright, man, it's the Minuteman. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different from what I normally upload and kind of take a dive into the way that I play. I know some of you guys are crossbowmen yourselves, and I thought this could provide some insight into what to think about while you're out in the field. I have been developing this playstyle for a while now, but please keep in mind that it is still a work in progress. I'm constantly needing to adapt and learn from encountering different types of players in different situations. Today's example is a well-rounded bunch of engagements from a single solos match, but I hope to go over some more specific and individual focuses in the future to best help you all hone your particular skills. But before we get into the breakdown, let's talk quickly about the crossbow for those of you unfamiliar. Damage from the Fury bolts can be split into two values, bolt damage and explosive damage. Hitting players with the bolt will deal 180 damage to the upper and lower extremities, 200 to the stomach, and 210 to the chest. The explosion will always down a stuck player for all of these damage zones with or without EOD. A shot to the head or neck will instantly down a stuck player, and will full kill down players without EOD. Headshots on players with EOD will leave them down with about 50 HP. The explosion goes off 1 second after sticking a player and 2 seconds when hitting anything else. Explosive damage from a non-stuck bolt will cap at 110 damage and do significantly less the further a player is from the explosion. When interacting with glass windows, the bolt will go through, but the explosive bit won't, meaning the only way to insta-down players through glass is with a headshot. Also, for some reason hitting extremities through glass halves the bolt damage, so be sure to aim high. You can't shoot through doors, but you can deal explosive damage through thinner bangable walls, which can reach up to around 100 damage. From full HP, Berthas take 5 shots to destroy, SUVs and helis take 3, Rovers 2, and ATVs 1. Alright, man, so moving on to the gameplay here, I'm going to play through each clip first and just allow you a chance to digest it without speaking, and then I'm going to go back and review and talk a little bit about what I'm doing, what's the idea, the general overview of the strategy here. Keep in mind that all these clips are from the same solos match. This is like 6 engagements where they get progressively more intense as the game goes on and gets towards the final couple of players. And there's a lot to take away from each one of them, and I think this is the best example of a game with like a wide variety of engagements. So we can talk about the overall strategy for each one of these, but I'm gonna shut up real quick and we're gonna watch this first clip and then we'll talk some strategy. Alright, so like I said, they do get more intense progressively. The first one's a little simple, a little mild, and a great little appetizer for what we're about to get into. Keep in mind, the first thing I want to actually discuss with you is the loadout. Obviously, we've got the crossbow with the Fury bolts. That's just the integral part to this. I'll probably make another video down the line about why this particular build is the best, but we'll just leave it at the crossbow with the Fury bolts for now. And then secondary, I'm running the ballistic knife. Obviously, I have it out right now, as you can see. For movement speed is incredible. Also, it packs a real punch, and it's another very similar weapon to the crossbow in the sense of the style that it plays with pairs and synergizes extremely well with the crossbow. I'm running stims as my tactical because stims and the movement boost is really integral to this playstyle. They really just turned this whole thing upside down when they added that buff, and they're very, very good in situations that you need to get out of places or around corners quickly. Throwing knives, same reason as the ballistic knife. It just flows extraordinarily well, feels good to hit, and it sticks and stones from Black Ops. That's what it is. So. And then for the perks, we have double time. Obviously, this doubles the duration of the tactical sprint, which with the ballistic knife is around 8 seconds. That just makes slide canceling a lot easier. It makes rotations a lot easier when you're on foot and not in a vehicle. High alert is going to keep us informed on players that we don't know where they are. And it's also going to give us a little bit of that extra intel that we need to be gathering while we're in fights with people that we can't quite keep track of with the audio, because we know the game's audio is a little inconsistent. Amped Amped is critical because this allows us to switch between our movement and our crossbow very quickly. It also reloads the ballistic knife faster because that counts as a launcher for some reason. But that's the reason we're running amped here. So getting into the actual strategy of the playstyle here, men, I've broken it down into 4 simple modes that I'm constantly in while playing the game, and I'm going to be constantly referencing these during the breakdown and throughout these next few clips. But the number 1 mode that I'm constantly in is the gathering mode. And what that is referring to is we're gathering information about enemy players. Like, as you'll notice here, the obvious thing here is we have this guy on the UAV. We know his location, but that's not all I'm referring to. I'm actually referring more so to the play style of the opponent. So are they defensive? Are they aggressive? We're boiling it down to the 2 basic skills of Warzone, which is how do they move and how do they shoot. So more aggressive players will shoot more often and move more often. Defensive players will shoot less and move less. It's super duper simple, but this kind of information can really help you win gunfights and choose how to engage your opponents. So as you see, we're rolling up here on this guy, and we've got him on the UAV, and he does not move. This guy is chilling, straight chilling. We get 3 UAV pings, and he is still sitting in that same corner of the house. So we're going to go ahead and assume that this is more of a defensive player based on the fact that he is not moving that much. Now, as we get closer, the UAV becomes less and less beneficial to us. So I'm going to stop looking at the UAV here, right? And now we're focusing on our centering. So where is our crosshair? We're going to focus on if this guy's going to push out this way, if this guy's going to push out this way. What is his next move? Because generally speaking, defensive players, when you get closer, will read your movements through your audio. If you're an aggressive player, like I'm tack sprinting, I'm jumping, I'm about to mantle onto this bush and make a bunch of rustling noises. What is his plan from that part, for that point is what we're looking for here. So I mantle up and make some noise. Notice how we're pre-aiming this window. I know this map, so I know that there's a window there. We're always going to pre-aim windows preference over the doors because doors give you audio and visual cues when they're being opened, and it's a little harder for someone to acquire you after immediately opening a door. Not the case with windows, so pre-aiming windows over doors 100% of the time, just in case this guy decides to peek when he hears the rustling of the leaves. Unfortunately, he does not. He's a little scared. So we move up, and we're gonna start we're continuing our gathering, right? Now we're not only are we gathering, but we're also in our second mode, which is hunting. So we've identified this as a defensive player, and we're gonna enter hunting mode because of that. So we're gonna start to aggress and push on this guy, but also at the same time we're still gathering. Like right now, I push up to the window for visual information to see if I can see him from here, which I can't, and for audio information, because these are the 2 most important ways to gather information when you're this close to a player. At this point, the UAV doesn't matter. I mean, you can use the compass at the top to tell exactly the angle if you're a little further out, but when you're in this close quarters, you're going to focus on what's right in front of you and what you can hear. Now, we don't get any audio from this guy at all, but that's fine because he just slow peeks. I mean, that's an easy shot to hit, especially at close range, and that's really the benefit to when someone doesn't use audio on you. They're either not moving or they're slow peeking like that, and those shots are easy. All right, so second engagement, clearly a little bit spicier. We do end up having to deal with 2 people here. But first things first, we're gathering. We have our intel on this player. We've got a UAV as well as a big game bounty on him. And we're going to want to close that distance while we have this information. So we've got our secondary out. We're tack sprinting. We're slide canceling. We don't have a vehicle yet. And the issue with that is that we are out in the wide open field on foot. So we start taking some unexpected shots from the right side here, as we can see with the damage indicator. And what we're going to do is immediately put ourselves in cover. Even though it's a pretty big field, we are on Caldera. There are a lot of trees. We've got some rocks over here to the side. And so we're immediately putting ourselves with some cover in between us and our aggressor. Now, I didn't see him. I don't know if you guys saw him. I didn't see him at all. So at this point, I know he's in this direction, but I'm still kind of worried about the close guy as well, because, you know, if this is a better player, he's probably going to peek this window here. He's hearing shots go off. He might hear our operator say some voice line where we're taking damage, so he might want to, you know, engage in that third party and peek this window. We still don't know where the guy to the right is, but we're going to keep this cover between us and him as we watch for the third party here. And then we're going to peek, see if we can get some information on him, which we do end up getting. We get a little movement, and the idea here is we're entering our third mode. So we've gathered information. We were going to hunt this player on the left, but we took some damage from a more aggressive player, which puts us in our third mode, which is skirmishing mode. And the idea behind skirmishing mode, or skirmishing tactics in general, is to strike first while you have the advantage, disrupt the opponent, and then put yourself out of harm's way immediately. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take a pot shot at this guy, and we're going to duck into cover. Now, obviously, we hit the shot here, but there will be plenty of situations where you miss your shots, and I miss my shots all the time. So what would happen in that situation is I'm going to put myself in a place where I can continue to push the guy that I need to push over here at the house without putting myself at a disadvantage to this guy. So we're going to immediately start plating and wrapping left up to the house. We're going to put this huge piece of cover between us and the other guy, and hopefully we get some audio cues from the guy inside the house. We get that pick, then we've got an advanced UAV from our big game bounty, and then we've got fresh brand new intel gathered on the other guy that we're trying to fight. But fortunately, we hit the shot. Maybe we're a little cracked today, and so we're going to continue the engagement. We're going to immediately start plating again, because remember, plating is our padding. I mean, the more plates we have when we first take an engagement, the better. That goes for all gunfight strategy, but especially for the crossbow, because you're going to want to get around corners or down or behind something as soon as you fire, because of that 1 second delay between your shot hitting and the explosion. So we're going to need all the help we can get. We're going to have to tank all the bullets that we possibly can every single engagement, every time. Notice how I'm immediately ducking behind cover here, because this guy still has the opportunity to peek. We still don't know exactly what kind of player this is. We haven't gathered enough information, but we have gathered some information to the point where we know he's in this house, and we know that he's generally pretty stationary, but we still don't know how aggressive he is in terms of, well, how often he's willing to shoot his weapon to reveal his position. So we're going to duck behind cover here, anticipating a third party, or what would be an attempt at a third party at this point. We push up, we get absolutely no audio cues, and so the instinct is we've gathered, right? We've got no audio. We're going into hunter mode, and this guy's either going to be crouch walking or even just prone or crouched or mounted somewhere within this building, which means we're switching into full aggressor mode. We're going to mantle through the window. We're going to clear this room immediately. We're going to wrap around this corner, slide canceling, pre-ADSing everything, because we don't have that audio, so we just got to go off instinct. And what you're going to see here is that this is enough to put this guy to bed. And unfortunately for him, he's sitting absolutely still in the corner. And that's just, again, these are easy shots to hit. If you're anticipating someone being there, especially when you're not receiving audio cues, that's a likely conclusion to draw that they are not moving, or they're barely moving at all. All right, so as you can see in this clip, we've got some different circumstances here. Obviously, we're in a vehicle first and foremost. We've got a trophy on it. We're scared of getting blown up. We've got an advanced UAV up, and we're aggressing on a ghosted player. And first thing we're going to notice about this player is that he is moving. And this is more than we can say about the previous few engagements. So we're going to have to gather some more information about what type of player this is. We run out of our advanced UAV, which means this guy is completely off the radar. We're going to have to go for what we can visually see using our third-person camera here. But for movement, we're going to go ahead and check this box that this player is moving. And now what we need to do to identify the other half of, you know, what kind of skilled player this is he going to shoot at our vehicle? So we're going to bait out some shots. We're going to make a nice little drive-by and use our third-person camera to spot him. And as you can see, he does not take a shot. So we're going to go ahead and assume that this is an average player, right? He's moving into position, but he is not shooting. And so this is more of an average player, maybe a conservative player that likes to play for the win. But when we're facing average players, we're not scared. These aren't our demons of the lobby. So we're going to go ahead and enter hunting mode once again. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap back around with the vehicle. And we're going to set up on him. Notice the placement of the vehicle here. We're going to place it right in between us and our opponent there. And that's obviously not only to give us cover while we're exiting, but it's also to set up an angle. And this is like really important when it comes to skirmishing, and we'll get to that just in just a few minutes. But when you're setting up your vehicles, if you're exiting a vehicle, setting up for angles where you can wrap around in case of a retreat is extremely important. That's a really good way to think about where you're going to place your vehicle instead of just running it into something and letting it go off into the distance 1,000 miles away. So as you can see here, we're going to push up. We're going to get on this cover. Little head glitch going here. I'm going to take a cheeky jump shot. Now, jump shots, I don't advise. They're more of an advanced technique, especially with the crossbow, or particularly with the crossbow, because it will kind of mess up your bolt velocity. You'll run into an issue where your bolt will go a little high or sometimes to the side because you're in midair. And I don't know why it happens. It feels like you end up missing a lot more shots while jump shotting. But I do go for it here, and I end up missing because of it, which is unfortunate. But notice we're going to immediately get into cover, and then we're going to peek from a different angle. So this guy is still focused on the angle we were just at, but we slid cancel. We pre-ADS'd this corner faster than he could realize that we're not there anymore. And that's partly because we used our cover to conceal our movement, but that's also because players will generally focus on that area, especially if you've got a vehicle over there. They might assume that you're retreating back into the vehicle or trying to get away from where they are. Needless to say, it works out here. He's very focused on the other direction, and we get the down. And notice real quick that I immediately switched to my secondary, and there's two reasons for this. One is obviously I've got movement speed, so if I do miss my shot, it's going to help me get around corners faster. And secondly, if I do need to, what we refer to as a last stand chow or a last chance chow, where I'm getting hit, say that player does hit me, and I don't have time to get around this corner to try to reset. I've got a shot in my secondary that I can hit. I've also got throwing knives that I can use and try to clutch it out before I end up going down. But reflexively switching to your secondary is a really good idea, especially if you're running this exact loadout. That this is like 100% of the time. If you know you don't have time to get a reload in before you can reach out, 100% get into the habit of switching to your secondary after you hit or miss a shot, after you fire off a shot in general. All right, man. So this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of breaking down the actual thought process behind the strategy, right? So we're rolling up on a big game bounty in our vehicle. He's obviously ghosted because we've got a UAV up and we've got no pings inside the circle. But we do get some information right off the bat. We're still gathering, right? Right now we're focused on gathering. And the information that we get right off the bat is that this player breaks through the glass and he is standing in that window. And immediately, as we catch that information on his location, he begins to take shots at us. And so now our boxes are checked immediately, right? We've got our movement box, that's checked. We've got our shooting box, that's checked. We are entering engagement with an aggressive player. Now, sometimes these can be nipped right in the bud off the bat, but usually these fights end up taking a little while longer because we're dealing with a player who is competent with their gun and competent in their movement. And so we're going to be entering skirmishing mode. It's my favorite mode, honestly. There's a lot that goes into skirmishing mode. But what we're going to do is we're going to immediately dismount because we want to try to end this engagement as quickly and surprisingly as possible. Unfortunately, the game sucks, and sometimes you will just immediately pop your tactical after leaving a vehicle. I don't know, it's a bug that's been in the game since Verdansk. It's still in the game. It happens for controller players and it happens for mouse and key players. Don't know what happens or why it happens, but it happens and we run straight into this guy. And this is where chaos ensues here. So we're using our audio cues now. Obviously, we're not focused on the map whatsoever. The map might as well not be here. We're using our audio cues and we're using our immediate visual cues to locate and target this player. We hear running around the front. We miss a shot because he's already through that. I mean, he's past where he would be in that window. And I flick to try to keep up with that momentum. Obviously, we hit the wall. It's kind of awkward. But I immediately noticed we're kind of in a bad situation here because we have got glass windows out the wazoo. We've got glass windows all over the place. And if there's anything we as Crossbow players hate, it is glass windows. We hear one break. We're using our audio here to get outside. We don't want to fight in an area where there are glass windows. So we're trying to put ourselves in a position where we don't have to shoot through them. Somehow this guy gets over here. I have no idea how, but we get a glimpse of him all the way down the lane at the wrong building. Not sure what his game plan is here, but he does give us a second to play it up. But we don't want to lose this guy, right? We're staying kind of on his tail, but we don't want to put ourselves right up in his face because if he ends up pushing through this door or coming around this corner, slide canceling, the closer he is, it gets a little bit more difficult to hit that shot. And it also makes it difficult for us to try to reset if he's right on our tail. So we're going to go ahead and push up and listen for audio cues while we're playing. We get some wooden footsteps to the left. And then the audio stops. So now we're kind of in a baby version of hunting mode because we've gathered some audio that makes it seem like he is not going to be moving. So now we can start to aggress a little bit on this player. Even though we're still technically in skirmishing mode, we're going to do a little hunt peek here. Check the next corner with a hunt peek. We're gonna look, and I'm pretty sure this player is here somewhere in this wooden area. It turns out he is actually out the window, which is again a problem for us because this area of the map has not been looted, not been touched. These are intact glass windows, and we don't like those. So I missed my shot here, and I hit the vehicle back there, and he gets some tags on me again. Still using our audio. We get that door audio. And we hear some wooden footsteps. So I'm going to try to rotate into a safer spot where I can use the walls of the house as these angles that I'm going to go and turn around to try to play it up. Unfortunately, this guy wraps directly back to the door. He's using his audio as well. So we know that this is a much better player than we've encountered before in this match. I'm going to pop stem, so I lose all my plates. And we're going to pop stem immediately, slide, try to get as far away from this guy as humanly possible because we're on the back foot and he's chasing us. I make a mistake here by turning around because I could just use my high alert to my advantage here and know that he can see me. Even if I don't get high alert here, I just need to be focusing on staying tight to the wall and getting around these corners. So I make a mistake by turning around and I lose a little health because of it. But I start to plate and I use my audio. And I hear that he's wrapped back from this corner to the left side of the building. So he's over here now. And this gives me an opportunity to bait him. So now we know he's an aggressive player, right? And in our part of our skirmishing mode is that we're going to try to bait our aggressive player into a situation that's going to put him at a disadvantage and us at an advantage. So I'm going to run across the room to try to get some high alert from him. And I'm also going to do it to try to give him free audio on where I am so that he has to push into the house, which is what we want, because this is going to be a situation where we're both in the house and I don't have to fire through glass. Unfortunately, he does not take the bait, and we don't want to sit there too long because then he's going to enter hunting mode and we're going to be sitting still in a corner, and we don't like that. So we're going to immediately, as soon as we realize he hasn't taken the bait, we're going to immediately try to get some visual information on where he is. He's outside, and we hit a nice flick, but it breaks our bolt. And so I switch to my secondary, and I try to hop at this window, and I fail miserably. Luckily, though, because I get that audio that he is now on the back foot because his plates have been broken. That's a terrible arrow. Oh my goodness. His plates have been broken. And so now we can press our advantage, even though we don't have ammo in our crossbow now. We do have a ballistic knife, and we can proceed to take a pot shot at him as he's trying to get away. And that's exactly what we do. We hit our shot and take what little health he has left. And that's a generally pretty good skirmishing gunfight there, where we're using our audio and we're understanding that he's going to use his. We're trying to bait him either into a spot that's going to be advantageous for us, but we're trying to keep our distance enough to the point where he's not going to get right up in our face and force us to miss our shot. All right, so this last clip, I'm not even going to play all the way through because this is our end game, but I'm just going to slowly try to commentate over it. As you can see, we've rotated on foot, or we've rotated with our vehicle. We've dropped it out of the outer edge of the circle, and now we're on foot. We've got a player crossing the field here, and anytime we've got players like this that are... We're in a safe spot. We've got a bunch of cover. We've got tents all over the place. We can take free pot shots at this, and if he decides to chow us, and he's a good player, we can go ahead and back up and relocate. But we're trying to watch for him and see if we can get some free shots on him. Meanwhile, we've got 2 TAC rovers pulling up. And anytime you see vehicles, especially, I mean, TAC rovers, ATVs, Jeeps, not necessarily Berthas because they're pretty tanky, but anytime you see these low HP vehicles rolling up, take your pot shots on them. And you're going to get, I mean, sometimes, like, depending on where you aim on the vehicle, you're going to get splash damage. But most of the time, these vehicles are low enough by halfway through the game that you can get 1 shots to 2 shots on them. So we end up fragging, getting a free kill there. I barely missed the shot on that rover, but we're just still taking the pot shots because we realize that these are essentially free explosive kills. Now that player does hop out, and I noticed this, and I'm just trying to play for positioning here. Plus I've got 26 grand in the bank, so we're probably going to go for an advanced UAV here. But I hear a sniper shot, and I don't like snipers. I'm still developing the anti-sniper part of this gameplay, or this playstyle, and I don't like challenging snipers because I don't feel comfortable, especially with my low graphics and everything. It's difficult to see snipers glint even. So I'm just going to assume that was at me, and I'm going to take the safe way around to the buy shop, around the back, give him a second to get uninterested in me and stop ADSing. But I'm still going to be cautious. I'm going to hit the buy shop while I'm moving. I'm not going to stand still, and he was shooting at me, and he connects his shot. So I'm not going to peek. I'm not going to get my advanced UAV. I'm just going to go ahead and focus on setting up in a position where I could have an advantage. Now I see he gets into his rover, and he starts to push back towards me. And so the faster I get on top here, the faster I'm able to take pot shots at him. But I've also got a feeling, when you don't get audio and you're in a building in your late zone, you get this feeling, right, that there might be somebody in here. So I'm taking it a little cautiously. I'm trying to bait for audio. I'm pre-aiming my corners, again, because no audio means we're immediately going to assume that there's someone not moving in one of these corners, just to be safe. I bait that door. I don't get anything. We got a dead body on the surface, so it's not necessarily a place to stand still. and we hear an engagement below us. So we're going to go ahead and get down there. We see that the guy on the UAV did survive. So this is our same guy who hopped out of the rover, probably more of an aggressive player. So now inadvertently, we have gathered that this player has hopped out of his vehicle over here, take sniper shots at us, hopped in his vehicle, moved all the way over here, and is now aggressing and killing a player who was down on the bottom floor. We have gathered that this guy is moving, this guy is shooting. We're gonna skirmish this guy. We are not gonna try to full send this guy because of what intel we have gathered on him. So first things first, we're looking at the scene of the crime. We see a little glimpse of him past that door there. And we're gonna pre-aim because God bless fatal funnels. Anywhere where you get an enemy and he's going to be looking at you and standing still, these are the areas where the crossbow shines. So stairs, windows, narrow hallways, stairways. These are perfect places to pre-aim and try to take shots on players when you assume that they're going to be staying still. Now that guy peeks the door and immediately backs off. So we miss our shot. It's a little awkward. We're going to check it again just in case he's still there. But now we're assuming that he's probably rapping because we know he's an aggressive player. We know he's not moving up because we cleared this area already to the right. He's not taking this direct... I can't draw arrows, Jesus. He's not taking this direct path, but we know he is aggressive. So he does end up coming around the corner, and he pops a UAV as well. So we're a little bit at a disadvantage. We're not running Ghost, but it doesn't matter because at close quarters, the UAV doesn't matter that much anyways. So we're going to start listening for audio while we're plating and retreating. We get an enemy soldier incoming, and we get a parachute sound right before when we're listening for the audio. So now we're pensed. We've got a guy up the stairs on the 3rd floor, arrows, and we've got a guy down the stairs on the bottom floor. So we're running into a situation where we need to prioritize our positioning over taking engagements. So we're going to go ahead and push the guy on top. We get a little visual bug where he clips through the door. And we've got to back up, but we also got to be wary of the guy on the bottom floor. Notice how after we miss our shot here, right, we get this visual bug. We assume we've clipped through him, but we haven't. He's just stuck up there. We're here. We peek this corner. We don't see our guy, and we don't hear our guy aggressing yet. If we do, we're immediately switching to our secondary for movement. We're getting through this door that's on our left. We're getting, we're resetting ourselves to a position where we're going to force the aggressive player on bottom to come to us. We're going to repush the top because this is where we want to be. We bait the door, and then we get a cluster strike warning, which means this guy is coming inside. And so we need to pre-aim. If he's going to slide in, we need to pre-aim where he is going to be. And he just books it pat. He has no idea. So we get and then he enters the stairs, right? The stairs, this is our domain. This is where we shine the most. So we're in a really nice position here. We miss our shot, but that's okay. We don't have time to reload. So rechalling here with the throwing knife is, and then possibly the ballistic knife. Notice how I switched. I was already switched at that point. Rechalling for our last second chow while he's in the stairs. That's what we're going for almost every single time. And then we're checking because we've got a cluster strike on us. We're checking our audio. We're checking our visual because we don't have audio. And unfortunately, a little bit of COD timing here, where I jump straight over him and I panic because I don't see him until the last second. And I miss my shot. And then we get what is called really unlucky, where the video game eats our throwing knife, and we get absolutely shredded. Which is fine because, this happens. This strategy is not foolproof. And when you end up in a situation like this, it's just a little unfortunate. But we do end up getting killed by J-Device, who is a popular streamer. He's doing the phase 1 challenge at this point, and he's on a 26. So he's needless to say, he's a little bit of a cracked player. But this is the same guy we were skirmishing downstairs and missed a couple easy shots on. So this does it goes to show that even the best players can struggle against this gameplay or against this play style. Given he shoots my body, it's a little toxic, but whatever. We'll forgive him. even this playstyle can compete against even some of the most hardened, you know, I mean, this is a 4-3-1 KDE. He's going on a 27 right now, and he ends up going on to win the match. Props to him. He fried me. I mean, that's beautiful. But again, this really does go to show that even the most skilled, hardened players can slip up and struggle against the playstyle, you know, given enough time, enough effort, etc. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I would love to turn it into a series, but you guys gotta let me know in the comments. Let me know via the like counter how much you guys enjoy this, and if you want to see more, and maybe I'll even get into breaking down some of your crossbow gameplays. I think that would be a pretty fun thing to do. I want to thank my buddy Ben for giving me the idea for this video, and my buddy Jaden for helping with the testing for the Minute Stats segment, and for being a member of the Minuteman Patreon, which you should totally join too. Anyway, that's all I have for today, guys. Dismissed. Good luck, have fun, and take care of yourself.